Hi, this is Margo. This is Saturday evening, June the 8th, 2019, 7:44 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So we're going to be looking at earthquakes again tonight, but I've got a couple of things to go over with you before that. This is my lead story. This I got from Dutch Sense, and he had posted something on his Facebook page with a link to this video, and it's tar and natural gas rises up onto sidewalks near La Brea tar pits. This is in Los Angeles. This is in downtown LA. They've got tar and oil-like substance seeking onto street. And this is in the Miracle Mile area. That's the main drag downtown. And I'm going to show you. I've done some research. This is on the sidewalk. They've called the authorities. The authorities haven't responded. And Dutch Sense is worried that methane is going to be igniting. There's hissing. They're saying it's hissing there too. So let's watch this video. It's pretty short. This is the news announcer. Uh-oh. Hang on. I gotta...
Mess out here. This puddle of tar just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Let me move out of the way. You can see some cones have been put up around it, but the tar is now seeping past the cones, and we're hearing a hissing sound that sounds like natural gas coming through. And I can tell you, we're also smelling the tar right now. If we can go to some video from earlier, we are right across the street from the La Brea tar pits, which is a national natural landmark where natural tar has been seeping up from the ground for thousands of years. Now, we have made calls to LAPD, but they tell us they don't know anything about this. Now, we're told that the tar pits are run by the Page Museum. We've left many messages from them, but we haven't received any calls back. Back here live. For now, we don't know when crews will come out to stop this tar from seeping, but I can tell you the puddle just keeps getting bigger and bigger. For now, we are live in Miracle Mile. I'm Brittany Hopper. Back to you guys in the studio.
So there you have it from Brittany Hopper. And it's gone on to the next story. But I'll leave the link below to that. Now So I did a little bit of research, and they actually have, there's La Brea tar pits and museum. It's a whole museum and a park, and this is where it is. It's in downtown LA. Here's the Los Angeles County Museum of Arts here. This is a park right next to it, right here. Boot Camp LA Outdoor Fitness Program. This is the Hancock Park. I would think that thing would stink to high heaven forever. You know, I can imagine being next to that. And it looks like this is part of the park where the tar is coming up. This is an open pit where tar and oily stuff just seeps up. It's like the oil sands in Canada, and it's like the stuff up in Siberia that we saw, where it's releasing high levels of methane and sometimes high levels of sulfur dioxide and other noxious gases. But it's a whole museum, and people go here to see it. And it's not that far from Hollywood. And so here's the street, right? This is Wilshire Boulevard. I'm thinking they said it was on the sidewalk next to the La Brea tar pit. So it could be right here, right along here, that we're seeing it. I don't know, but you know, I like it that. I thought it was kind of funny that the reporter is saying, well, you know, they've got to figure out how to keep this this tar from coming up? Well, it's a tar pit. Guess what? It's coming up because there is pressure, and the magma is coming. There's so many earthquakes around and so much magma moving, and that tar, it's got to be under pressure too. And if it's under pressure and seeping up, then that's not a good sign, and they're not going to be able to stop that stuff from seeping up. So there's the La Brea Tar Pit and Museum right there. And right there, right in the middle of downtown LA. Isn't that funny? That just blows my mind. And Miracle Mile, I didn't know what they meant by that. It is a neighborhood. It's an area of Los Angeles, which is it's like, well, I just pulled it up on Wikipedia. It's a neighborhood in the city of Los Angeles, California. Contains a stretch of Wilshire Boulevard known as Museum Row. It also contains 2 historic preservation overlay zones, the Miracle Mile HPOZ and the Miracle Mile North HPOZ. Its boundaries are roughly 3rd Street on the north, Highland Avenue on the east, San Vicente Boulevard on the south, and Fairfax Avenue on the west. Major thoroughfares include Wilshire and Olympic Boulevards, La Brea and Fairfax Avenues, and 6th Street. So you're talking about this, let me see if I can get it, this area all in here. Of course, they take the highlights out when you click on the map. So it's a whole thing. It's the most famous area, or most traveled area, I guess, in LA, and there's landmarks and all that stuff. So here's the La Brea Tar Pits. A little bit of history on that. It's a group of tar pits around which Hancock Park was formed in urban Los Angeles. Natural asphalt, also called asphaltum, bitumen, pitch, or tar, or brea in Spanish, has seeped up from the ground in this area for tens of thousands of years. The tar is often covered with dust, leaves, or water. Over many centuries, the tar preserved the bones of trapped animals. The George C. Page Museum is dedicated to researching the tar pits and displaying specimens from the animals that died there. The La Brea Tar Pits are a registered national natural landmark. Here's the formation, etc., etc. Here's the history. So this is very well known. It's very famous. Okay, bacteria. Methane gas escapes from the tar pits, causing bubbles that make the asphalt appear to boil. Asphalt and methane appear under surrounding buildings and require special operations for removal to prevent the weakening of building foundations. Oh, that doesn't sound good. And I just looked at cams and the huge methane releases in Southern California. They usually have huge releases, but it's extra huge releases right now. In 2007, researchers from UC Riverside discovered that the bubbles were caused by hardy forms of bacteria embedded in the natural asphalt. After consuming petroleum, the bacteria release methane. Around 200 to 300 species of bacteria were newly discovered here. Oh my gosh, that does not sound good at all. So they've got their own form of bacteria growing there that's supercharged from eating the petroleum. That's insane. And then it's giving off methane because it's bacteria. Newly uncovered pits, flora and fauna, etc., etc. So, the La Brea tar pits, and now they made the news because they've got tar coming up in the sidewalk on Miracle Mile, and hissing, and natural gas hissing. That's methane. When you smell that natural gas like that, that is methane. Highly flammable. When it gets in that form, it is highly flammable. I hope no one lights a cigarette near there. That's insane. So here's the tar pits. And as we back out, this is on Google Maps. This is all LA. Here's Beverly Glen. Here's let's see, Hollywood is all around here. Beverly Hills. So there you have that. Now Dutch Sense had said in his post, and I'm going to read you the post. I copied and pasted the text from it, and it was on Facebook. It says, California seismic warning, alert. Here, I'll move this over. Oil, tar, and natural gas are hissing and being passed up out of the streets in North LA around the La Brea tar pits, right next to the earthquake swarm which just broke out this week. Well, it wasn't right next to it. I'll show you exactly where that earthquake swarm was. Authorities not responding to the media request for information yet. Please don't try to tell me this happens all the time. We know it hasn't happened the entire time we've all been together covering geophysics. Never seen news like this. This is highly abnormal. In light of the nearby seismic swarm, it cannot be ignored. Get the word out now. Major pressure is forcing the earthquake swarm and also forcing gases, tar, and oil to the surface. If the gas is hissing out of the ground, they better take care to not ignite the methane. Seriously. And then here's the link to the video. So, now I've got some other links too. So this is, if we keep going back out a little bit, this is the where the tar pits are, and then the area where those earthquakes are swarming is the Glen Avon area. And it's right here. So it's further to the east. Alright? And so he was saying right next to the earthquakes, but it's really not. It's to the east. I found this park and the tar pits, the La Brea tar pits here on the earthquake map. It's right, here's the tar pits, here's Hancock Park. So, Here's West Hollywood up here, Beverly Hills over to the west, and so this is right on Wilshire Boulevard. This is, let's see, this street right here is Wilshire Boulevard. And so we keep going out. Here's Beverly Hills. Here's Universal City. That's where they do all the filming and everything. Now, the earthquake swarm has been at Glen Avon, which is over here. This is the big swarm that we've been talking about. So it's not like right next door to it, but this whole area is under a lot of pressure. See, when we zoom in, here's the Glen Avon swarm. And so it's still quite a ways to the east of this other area, the tar pits that we just looked at. So that was, I know Dutch Sense knows his stuff, but that was not exactly correct. So also I wanted to do a little follow-up. I wanted to also do a follow-up with you on this is a community post that Dutch Sense put up a day ago, and he's talking about the Glen Avon swarm. He says the earthquake swarm location in Glen Avon, California is directly next to the toxic waste dump acid pits where several large companies like McDonnell Douglas, General Electric, and Northrop excavated, drilled, blasted, then dumped huge amounts of industrial acids into the ground. Yes, industrial acid liquids put in the ground, going down several hundred or more feet. Now an earthquake swarm is broken out between the oil pumping operations to the west and the industrial acid pit location. Here's the story about the location. This is an LA Times story. And here's the location in question, and here's the earthquake swarm location per USGS coordinates. And so when we look, so here is, so this is the Glen Avon swarm right here, okay? And also here it is on USGS right here, Glen Avon. So there it is. And then this is the acid, it's called Stringfellow acid pits. So this is different than the tar pits. This is the Stringfellow acid pits that he's talking about, that they're doing all the dumping. And they were drilling and blasting and getting oil. And so when you look back and forth, close this out. Here's the the Stringfellow pit. Is that what it's called? And then the earthquakes are over here on the other side of these mountains. You can see it here. Here's the mountains. It's on the other side. So there's that. So that's from his YouTube channel. It's a community post there. So these are all, he does his research, and so these are all good things to look up and good things to know about. And in the meantime, all of Southern California is under pressure. Well, and we've got this San Andreas fault line that runs right through it, and you know, it's just the way it is. This is what we've got here. So there's that. Now, before we get into the rest of the earthquake report, I have some news from New Zealand. Okay, I'm going to close out my La Brea links. I will leave the links below. New Zealand got hit by on its South Island on the Alpine Fault right here, and I can't play the video because I'm not in the right zone. But it says Queenstown residents were shaken awake early on Sunday morning, which is Saturday for us, which was today, by a strong quake. The 5.5 shake struck at 3:24 a.m. at only 5 kilometers deep, 40 kilometers northeast of Milford Sound. GeoNet reported it appears to have struck on the Alpine Fault. More than 600 people reported feeling it on the GeoNet website. This quake was largely felt in the Queenstown and Wanaka areas. The big quake was followed by a series of smaller aftershocks measuring between 2.5 and 3.9. So it was right here. And it was downsized on USGS to, I think, a 4.5 or something like that. This fault system has the potential for larger events, and we would like to make sure that you're prepared for a large earthquake at all times. And this, it was right down here. It's this one. Oh, 4.9. It was downgraded to a 4.9 on USGS, but this plate line runs right through New Zealand, and it was right on that red line, right on that plate line. And that's the Pacific plate where it meets up with the Australian plate here. This is the Pacific plate, and this is the Australian plate, and it's this red line. And you know, we've said before, we've talked about this, how New Zealand is a hot spot for earthquakes, and they're even worried about these tectonic plates coming apart and just tearing up everything down there. So is this the beginning of it? I don't know. But on GeoNet, let's do a refresh. They keep having aftershocks. Here they just had 21 minutes ago they had a 4.3, and 33 minutes ago they had a 2.5, 39 minutes ago a 3.4, 6 hours ago a 3.2, 10 hours ago a 2.5, 11 hours ago 2.9, 11 hours ago 3.9, 11 hours ago 3.9, and then 11 hours ago was when they had that 5.5. And then yesterday before that they had a 2.8, a 2.3, and then 2 days ago a 2.7, and a 2.7, and a 3.1, and so on. And this is, look at all these. So you can, this is an interactive map. You can click on it and it'll tell you all the information about the earthquake. So that's the 5.5 that happened at 3:24 a.m. for them on Sunday. So this is back, this was May 23rd here. So it looks like, anyway, it's just, oh, and the North Island had what was it? They had an earthquake yesterday or day before up here. So that's what's going on with New Zealand. So this is from GeoNet, and it's earthquakes from the last 365 days that may have caused shaking, weak or greater in New Zealand. A maximum of 100 earthquakes are displayed. So I don't know how many are right there. It doesn't say. But anyway, I'll leave links below for all of that. Now, let's get into our earthquake report. Okay, we have USGS pulled up for all magnitudes for the last 24 hours, and we're showing 277 earthquakes worldwide. Of those, 27 are 2.5 magnitude and higher. Now this looks more normal to me, to see earthquakes on all these different red lines on this ring of fire, rather than yesterday where we saw over 300 in the United States area, and 2 over here, 2 that were not part of the United States territory, 2 or 3. That was kind of flipping me out. That's just not normal. This is more normal looking to me. So let's see what's about to come off the map. 3.7 near Tsukuba, Japan. This came in last night at 8:45 p.m. And this is a 4.5 near Fiji, south of the Fiji Islands at 8:52 p.m. last night. 576 kilometers deep. Okay, we've got time to start wherever we want. So we'll just go ahead and finish up on this earthquake down here in New Zealand. So on USGS, they downgraded it to a 4.9, calling it near Arrowtown, New Zealand, that came in Pacific time. It was 8:24 this morning, Pacific time. And all these times I'm going to be telling you are Pacific time because that's my time zone. Then there was a 5.3 south of the Fiji Islands at 7:19 this morning, 113 kilometers deep. 4.5 south of the Fiji Islands, 8:52 last night, 576 kilometers deep. And a 4.8 near Lombasa, Fiji at 7:11 this morning, 551 kilometers deep. And these deep ones are what make the plates move around the planet. Here's a 5.0 near Panguna, Papua New Guinea at 3:19 this morning, 68 kilometers deep. And we click on that little wave to see if there was a tsunami alert for that. No, the last one was from the 7th. That was from Kodiak, Alaska. But there was no tsunami threat. I looked at it. And then right next to it was a 4.8 near Oroville, Papua New Guinea at 2:36 this afternoon, 150 kilometers deep. Then a 5.1 near Kavieng, Papua New Guinea at 3:49 this morning. Then here in the Philippines are 2 off the coast near General Luna of 4.8 at 6:23 this morning, and a 4.6 at 9:01 this morning. So we're going to come on around this ring of fire. Wow, look at all this activity in Japan. Here's a 4.8 near Hachijojima, Japan at 2:39 this afternoon. Then here's one on the mainland, 3.7 near Tsukuba, Japan at 8:45 last night. That's not big enough to do damage. Here's a 4.3 in the ocean near Kamashi, Japan at 1:33 this afternoon. Then these islands are Russian islands, so the reporting station is Russia. 4.6 near Shikotan, Russia at 8:37 this morning. A 4.9 near Kurilsk, Russia at 11:10 this morning. So nothing on the land there. So we got all of those. Now down here in South America, in Chile, a 4.7 near Villarrica, Chile at 6:44 this morning. Then down here in Mexico, here's, it looks like they're both in the ocean. Yeah, that's barely offshore. 4.1 near Tecpan de Galeana, Mexico at 1:10 this afternoon. And a 4.2 near Francisco del Mar, Mexico at 1:25 this morning. So this first one was at 1:10 this morning. Did I say I probably said this afternoon, having a brain fart. That was in the morning. So those were timed not too far apart. Now that's all of our international earthquakes. Now let's go to 2.5 magnitude. Uh-oh. Look, we got a new one. Just came in. Let's see what this is. 4.2 near Kamar Mushani, Pakistan at 7:36 this evening. Now that you could feel that. That's probably not big enough to do any damage. It doesn't look like it's near a town. So that's big enough to feel. Alright, now we're going to go to all magnitudes, starting with Hawaii. We've got 13 here today. Look at this little cluster in the ocean. Look, a perfect triangle. A 2.2, 2.2, and a 2.5, all in a little perfect triangle there. Isn't that pretty? Here's a 1.7 Pahala, 2.2 Pahala, 2.1 Pahala, 2.0 volcano, this is the flank of Mauna Loa, not Kilauea. 2.1, 1.8, 2.0, 1.9, and 1.9, and here's the crater of Kilauea there. So those are getting larger. They're getting up there. .8. There's Kilauea, and there's not sure what that is. Anyway, there's all of those. Lots of movement, activity still happening. Then in the Caribbean, we've got 7 tonight. We've got 2 right there, a 3.0 and a 2.5 right there by the Dominican Republic, and then 0.7, 1.5, 2.2, 1.8, and a 2.8. So the highest one was that 3.0. So those are going down a little bit. Now in Alaska, we've got 79 here today. And of those, 4 are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So here's a 3.9 near Atka, 3.9 Kodiak. They had a 4.8 there yesterday, so that was getting up there. 2.5 Redoubt Volcano, and a 2.7 College at College. So if we zoom in on all magnitudes, look, here's a little cluster in the armpit, and here's Redoubt Volcano right there. Coming up into Cook Inlet, we're seeing them peppered around. Here's the Anchorage area, and then they're moving on up through the state. Here's Koktovik up in northern Alaska. We got 6 here today. 2s and under. Here's Kobuk. They've only got 6 here today. 1s and under. Maybe they're done with their mining project. 1.5 at Kotzebue, and so on. Now, let's move on down to the lower 48. We're going to go over to Oklahoma. Oklahoma has 11 here today. So, let's just call these off. 2.4, 1.7, 1.7, 1.8, 2.1, 1.6, 1.9, 2.1, 2.2, 1.8, and 1.7. So, those are good size. I don't know if Oklahoma has fracked enough so that they'll have a major earthquake or not. It's definitely showing movement there. Okay, now we're going to come on up into Yellowstone today. We're showing 9 here today. The Yellowstone region. I'll call them off. Here's a minus 0.1 at Polson, 0.2 Polson, minus 0.1 Polson, minus 0.1 Polson. So right here near Flathead Lake, they're having that little cluster. Here's a 1.7 Hamilton, 0.5 Manhattan, 0.6 Manhattan, and 1.5 Lincoln, and a 1.4 Manhattan. So these are not very large, but they're definitely still showing movement. Now coming on up into the Pacific Northwest. Now look at this earthquake here on the Vancouver Island. Remember we saw those swarms there? What was it, yesterday or day before? It was all clustered up here. Well, guess what? A 2.3 near Duncan, Canada. This is on Vancouver Island. I meant tremors. We saw them clustered. The tremors were just covering up like hundreds for the last few days. This came in at 2:51 this morning. So let's look at our tremor map. This is from yesterday. And look. Look where these are. They're all in the water here. And on this Vancouver Island and down here on this little northern part of Washington. Then, so that's where they were, all those tremors yesterday. Right there, and then they have an earthquake. So, see, that shows us. And then there were some tremors down here near Eureka. Just a few down by Eureka. But for yesterday, there were 255. That's very high. And the majority of them, were up here. So there you have that. Right up here, the majority of them. 255. That's insane. Then there was a 1.0 near Carson and a 0.7 near Yakult and a 0.4 near Amboy. This is Mount St. Helens at Amboy. Looks like it's right on the edge of the crater at Mount St. Helens. But it's small. I mean, they usually have something almost every day. And then these are I couldn't get that mountain. Trapper Creek. Sister Rocks. So those are near Trapper Creek and Sister Rocks. Now coming on down into this eastern side of Northern California. Remember we had those that had shown up and went away. Well, I haven't seen any new ones up here in Northern California today. Now over here next to the Reno area we've got a 1.1 near Truckee and a 0.2 near Truckee, and then we've got a cluster here in the mountains. This is the Mount Rose area. A 0.2, 1.7, that's getting up there, and a 0.9 and a 0.3. They're calling them Incline Village as the reporting station, but it's actually in the mountains there. And then here's one in Reno today, a 0.8. This happened at 12:47 this afternoon. This is shallow, 1.3 kilometers deep. So where is this? Okay, I know where this is. This is Parr Boulevard. This is 395. I think this is Virginia. This street is yeah, that's Virginia. I know exactly where that is. So, 0.8, you know, that was probably nobody even felt that, but it happened. Look, we've got another one right in the middle of Pyramid Lake. Here's a 0.7. Came in last night at 11:22. We had one in Pyramid Lake yesterday too. Here's a 1.0 near Urington. Here's, oh my gosh, look at this cluster at Hawthorne. There's 9 here. Look at that. Right next to Walker Lake. Let's see what's going on here. These are, the highest one is a 1.5. They're mainly in the 1s range and under. Then here's a couple more in Hawthorne. Here's a 2.6 near Hawthorne. That's the largest one, looks like. Then 1.4 Courant, 1.5 Alamo, and then 4 more down in southern Nevada, small ones. So now let's look at the east side of California. Here's a 1.6 near Gardnerville. Now at Mammoth Lakes we've got 10 here today. That's kind of an average number. .4. Down here it says 1.5 though. Looks like that's the highest one. Nope, 1.7 is the highest. And then they go down from that. Coming on down. Here's Coso Junction area. We've got 7 here today. The biggest one is this 1.4 at Little Lake. So those numbers have gone down. Here's a 1.6 at Tehachapi. Then here we are coming into Southern California, and the La Brea tar pits that are hissing and coming up from the sidewalk. They just can't keep that tar contained. Imagine that. Imagine that tar would just have a mind of its own and not stay where it's supposed to. Here's a 1.3 at Progreso, Baja. Here's a cluster of 3 right here at Ocotillo. How dare that tar just get out of hand like that? We've got 58 here today in Southern California, so the number has gone down. This one in the ocean is a 1.6. So here's the Kauai area. Now, so up here is the Glen Avon swarm. So there's about 26 here today. 1.6. Let's see what the largest ones are. We saw that one at Hawthorne. 3.0 Tres Pinos. Okay. So these are ones and under. Here's a 1.9. That might be the largest one. But yeah, with the toxic pits over here, that toxic stuff is seeping down, and if they drilled, then they made pathways for all that toxic material to seep down, in between all of the rocks and all the different layers and everything. And so that's got to create a toxic soup. That's just got to. That's just got to be really bad for Mother Earth. And people live there. There are houses right there. They've got to be smelling that stuff. So the tar pits are over here. Right up in here. That's where it's seeping up. So let's come up this west side now. We'll finish up. Look, one in the San Joaquin Valley of 1.8 near Madera Acres. 2.0 Tres Pinos. 3.0 Tres Pinos. 1.3 San Juan Bautista. 2.0 Gilroy. 0.6 Alum Rock. 1.2 El Sobrante, and 0.6 East Richmond Heights. And then the geysers. We've got 24 here today, so that number's gone down. So overall, the number of earthquakes have gone down, and it is Saturday, so the earthquake makers are not at work blasting and making a bunch of explosions and causing things to blow up. So that's why we see fewer earthquakes. I'm certain of it. So the largest one here today is this 2.2. So the other swarm that we saw was down by Eureka. Here's Eureka. The tremors. That's what I'm talking about. The other group of tremors that we saw. Where'd they go? Oh, here they are. We're near Eureka, so that's right in here. So that's not surprising, considering that this is the San Andreas fault line, this is the Cascadia subduction zone, and this is the Juan de Fuca plate. So we expect to see movement with this, and so we could see an earthquake here. That's a common place for us to see earthquakes at that juncture point. So we'll probably see an earthquake there in the next day or so. So let's zoom out and see if anything else significant happened while we were doing that. We got that one at Pakistan at 4.2. I think we got everything else, so I think that's a wrap. So I'll go ahead and sign off for tonight. And I think time is short, and it's time for all of us to get our spiritual houses in order. And until next time, God bless you, and go in peace, and I'll talk to you soon. Good night.